Imagine a revolution born from the most brutal system of human exploitation ever devised. A revolution where the enslaved rose up, shattered their chains, and forged the world's first black republic. This isn't a forgotten chapter of history. This is the story of the Haitian Revolution, a tale of defiance, freedom, and the unimaginable cost of liberty. It's a story that shook empires to their core and redefined what was possible for humanity. Our story begins in the late 18th century on the island of Hispaniola in the French colony of Saint-Domingue. This wasn't just any colony. It was the Pearl of the Antilles, the single most profitable colony in the world. It produced half of the world's sugar and coffee, generating more wealth for France than all of Britain's Caribbean colonies combined. But this immense wealth was built on a foundation of unimaginable suffering. The system was chattel slavery, and it was brutal. Nearly 500,000 enslaved Africans toiled in the fields under the blistering sun. They were considered property, not people. Their lives were short, filled with relentless labor, brutal punishments, and the constant threat of being sold away from their families. The death rate was so high that the enslaved population couldn't sustain itself. The system depended on a constant, horrific influx of newly captured Africans through the transatlantic slave trade. This society was a powder keg, divided by a rigid caste system. At the top were the white colonists, the grands blancs, the wealthy plantation owners and merchants, and the petits blancs, the artisans, shopkeepers, and soldiers. But there was another group, the gens de couleur libre, or free people of color. Many were of mixed race, some even owned plantations and enslaved people themselves. Despite their freedom and often their wealth, they were denied the social and political rights of white citizens, creating a deep well of resentment. Then, in 1789, revolution erupted thousands of miles away in France. The cry of liberté, égalité, fraternité, liberty, equality, brotherhood, echoed across the Atlantic. The Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen proclaimed that all men were born and remain free and equal in rights. This was a lightning bolt for Saint-Domingue. The Grands Blancs saw it as a chance for more colonial autonomy. The Petits Blancs wanted active citizenship for themselves. And crucially, the gens de couleur demanded the equality they were promised. But what about the 500,000 people whose bondage powered this entire system? The enslaved population listened. They saw the colonists and free people of color fighting amongst themselves, their masters weakened by internal division. They heard the talk of freedom and rights, and they began to ask a simple, world-altering question. Why not us? The whispers of rebellion grew louder, carried on the night air from one plantation to the next. The spark ignited on the night of August 21st, 1791. In a dense forest at a place called Bois Caïman, a Vodou priest named Dutty Boukman presided over a secret ceremony. Enslaved representatives from surrounding plantations gathered, swearing an oath to fight for their freedom. It was a fusion of spiritual resolve and political rebellion. Days later, the northern plains of Saint-Domingue erupted in flames. Plantations were burned, masters were killed, and an army of the formerly enslaved, armed with cane knives, torches, and stolen weapons, rose up in a coordinated insurrection. The Haitian Revolution had begun. The initial rebellion was a chaotic, violent storm of vengeance. But from this chaos, a leader of genius would emerge. His name was Toussaint Louverture, a formerly enslaved man, self-educated and a brilliant military strategist and political operator. He wasn't there at Bois Caïman, but he soon joined the rebellion, transforming the disorganized bands of fighters into a disciplined, effective army. Louverture was a master of diplomacy and deception. He played the world powers against each other like a chess master. France, Spain, and Britain all had armies in Saint-Domingue, each wanting to control the lucrative colony for themselves. Louverture allied with the Spanish against the French. Then, when France officially abolished slavery in 1794 to win his support, he switched sides and drove the Spanish and the British off the island. He was fighting not just for his own freedom, but for the universal abolition of slavery. By 1801, Toussaint Louverture was the de facto ruler of all of Hispaniola. He had restored order, revived the economy, and issued a constitution that abolished slavery forever and named him governor for life. He had achieved the impossible. But in France, a new leader had risen to power: Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon saw Saint-Domingue as key to his ambitions of a French empire in the Americas, and he couldn't tolerate a powerful black leader governing France's most valuable colony. In 1802, he sent the largest expeditionary force ever to leave France, led by his own brother-in-law, Charles Leclerc, with secret orders to crush Louverture's regime and ultimately to restore slavery. Initially, Leclerc's campaign was successful. Many of Louverture's own generals, including Jean-Jacques Dessalines and Henri Christophe, initially sided with the French. Louverture was tricked into a meeting, captured, and deported to a freezing prison in the French Alps. As he was led away, he famously warned his captors, "In overthrowing me, you have done no more than cut down the trunk of the tree of liberty. It will spring back from the roots, for they are numerous and deep." He was right. When news spread that Napoleon intended to bring back slavery, the rebellion flared up with renewed fury. Louverture's brilliant lieutenant, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, took command. He was a ruthless and uncompromising warrior, forged in the very worst of the slave system. He united the rebel forces under the cry of "Coupez tête, brûlez caille," cut off the heads, burn down the houses. The war became a brutal, no-quarter fight for survival. The French army, already decimated by yellow fever which killed Leclerc himself, couldn't withstand the ferocity of the Haitian forces. On January 1st, 1804, in the city of Gonaïves, Jean-Jacques Dessalines did something that changed the world. He declared the independent nation of Haiti, ripping the white stripe from the French tricolor flag to create the new Haitian flag of blue and red. It was the first nation founded by a successful slave revolt, the second independent country in the Americas after the United States, and the world's very first black republic. The name was changed from the colonial Saint-Domingue to its original indigenous Taino name, Haiti, meaning land of high mountains. But freedom came at a staggering price. The war had devastated the country and killed hundreds of thousands. The newly formed nation was immediately isolated. Slave-owning powers like the United States, France, and Britain refused to recognize it, fearing the contagion of liberty would spread to their own enslaved populations. This isolation culminated in one of history's greatest injustices. In 1825, France returned with warships and demanded that Haiti pay an enormous indemnity, a payment not for the stolen labor of generations of enslaved people, but to the former French slaveholders for their lost property, including the people themselves. Facing the threat of invasion, Haiti agreed. This crippling debt, which took over a century to repay, hobbled Haiti's economy for generations, contributing to the cycles of poverty and instability that have marked its history. The Haitian Revolution is more than just a historical event. It is a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit to fight for freedom against impossible odds. It forced the world to confront the hypocrisy of its own ideals of liberty and challenge the very foundation of colonial power and white supremacy. It's a story that has been downplayed and ignored for too long, but its legacy is undeniable, echoing in liberation struggles across the globe. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through history. If you found this story as powerful as we do, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the stories that shaped our world, and share this video to help keep this vital history alive. We'll see you in the next one.